Yeah, we'll look at changes.
Yeah, and they held everything up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm thinking maybe we should stop saying the pledge until the government goes back.
Yeah. There is no government.
We're not getting, are we getting? You can edit it. I didn't know we were federal.
Announcements. We had a check over $25,000, which was to Illuminated Integration Theater Lighting Project out of the capital account for $61,161. And then we also had a second one, which was to Griffin, Coogan, Blouse, and Schulzer as part of a certiorari settlement with Hudson House Penance Corp., which is out of the general fund budget, which was $61,197.58. So it's a big day for $61,000 checks. We also had two more. One to ELQ Industries, which is part of the low service transfer tank project. That was out of capital. That was $59,565. And then Armored Tight Construction for the firehouse roof out of the capital fund, which is $67,320. I'm trying to think if I have any other announcements. I don't. Anyone else have any announcements? All right. Well, good thing we had the checks. Correspondence, we had none other than one for the parking. So we'll save that one. Public comment. There is no one sitting here, so I will move right along to the consent agenda. Anyone have any questions on the consent agenda?
No.
Otherwise, I'll make it. Whoop, hold on. Not too late.
I think there was one. No.
And I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. If I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we will continue the public hearing to consider a local law pertaining to downtown parking regulations. Would you like to update us on the changes?
Yeah, since we made some changes, which means that, the public hearing will have to be continued because these changes are significant. Okay, I'll go through the first law, the one that's...
And you know, we have this picture here.
She has that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The one that says amending chapter 213 with respect to limited parking in designated locations. I think that's probably the first ones there. It is. Okay, so on the first page, section A is new. It's 2-hour parking on Main Street, and this is to address the comment made by Ken Bernstein that parking on Main Street has always been 2 hours on Monday through Saturday. And because the other streets are Monday through Friday, it was just easier to put this in a separate section. So that's what that's done. Then what was changed in the 2-hour parking was now provides for 2-hour parking on the east side of South Astor Street, which is what it is now. On the north side of Bridge Street, from its intersection with North Astor Street to a point that extends 105 feet in an eastward direction.
This is
Right
on the
now.
East Street.
I'm not using this one.
Yeah, okay, I just,
But there's not gonna, okay, we'll look back. But right now, it's 2-hour parking for 85 feet. This was changed to 105 feet, so it would pick up 2 parking spaces on that side of the street.
got it.
And then on the south side of Bridge Street, between North Astor and South Buckout, those are all now 2-hour. Right now, there's 6 hours, this would make them 2 hours, there's 4 there. So what that does is pick up 6 spaces.
For 2 hours.
Make 6 2-hour spaces next to the entrance to Matheson Park. All right, then the rest of these, North Buckout, North Tottenham, North Dutcher, South Dutcher, North and South Dutcher, North and South Ferris, those are all, instead of, they're 2-hour on one side of the street, on the west side. See, when we get later, the other side will be 6 hours. So each of those streets, on one side it's going to be 2, on the other side it's 6. Then it continues to be 2-hour parking on the east side of Grinnell, the north side of East Home Place, south side of West Home Place, west side of Grove Place, and the west side of Vanderbilt Lane.
Okay.
All right, then the next set of streets are 6-hour parking. And, okay, so it's 6-hour parking on the west side of North Astor Street, south of the train station building. Otherwise, those parking spaces are all connected with the train station right now for Czar.
How many is, that there are right there? Is that Ford on that little chunk?
Yeah, that's
On
Ford.
the south side of North Astor? Ford.
Well, there's a great big handicap spot
Right.
that goes for Bazaar, and were there 4 or 6?
I think it's more like 6.
I thought it was 6, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot, there's more than I thought. I drove past twice yesterday counting them, and I'm going, I've passed 4 twice, so I don't think I'm misreading it.
Yeah, I went over to check all these, but I didn't count them all. I counted the ones near Matheson because I knew you wanted to pick out 6, so.
Yeah.
Okay, but my recollection was there were 6 spaces there. And then it would be.
I'm sorry, excuse me, so we're picking up 6-hour spots?
Yeah, right there,
Right there.
right here.
Yeah, I can't
There's
count
actually
them
8.
anymore with what you're.
There's 8. There's actually 8 there, yeah.
Because I don't necessarily know what it is now.
Okay. Right,
So you
right
can
here.
see from
Okay,
the,
then.
and they are village spaces.
Yes, I'm sorry, there are 8 spaces there that are, one of which is handicap, in addition to the handicap that Bazaar has. So, anyway,
Oh, there's 8
And
there?
those are all going from 6 to 2.
those are all going from 2 to 6.
2 to
2 to 6, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Which seems like a nice benefit if we, as long as we got enforcement going.
Then,
And here.
then also 6-hour would be the east side of North Astor, because you had said you wanted everything on Astor, but those are mostly 2-hour now. You just might want to bear in mind that those are businesses, that there are businesses on that street, there's only one of them.
And there's a couple of 1-hour spaces like that are parallel.
Yeah, I said 2-hour, they could be 1 hour, they're
Yeah.
not 6-hour.
Right.
And yeah, there's a mix of parallel and
Some of
parking.
these are,
But I thought that we had said that we wanted to keep the pull-in spots
Right.
shorter term and the
Right.
parallel spots long term.
Right, yeah, we were gonna get into this. So, what happened, Marion and I went back and forth on this, and our notes also said that there was definitely some discussion of what to do there.
Right.
Whether it should be the ones on the hill, or the ones down below, or whatever. So, where we ended up, right or wrong, was that we recommended to put all of those spaces 6 hours, but recognizing that the law allows us to sign them at a lesser time if we choose to. So what we can do, since there's basically one business down there, we can pick whatever 3 spots we want or whatever number we want and sign those specifically, between these signs 2 hours.
Oh,
And
Otherwise,
And that may get bigger.
right, or smaller if the
smaller,
business
okay.
closes or whatever, yeah.
Right,
So
or we could reserve that for when Matheson finally does open, maybe those furthest north ones.
yeah,
In addition to which, I know this sounds,
Even if you just do it from May to October or whatever, too, maybe. There's a lot of flexibility in that.
yeah.
Oh,
you-
yeah.
And that allows us
Yeah.
by.
that's
by-
smart,
by
during, yeah.
designated
so
as
the
a
So you
6
thought that
hour.
was
They're
either-
2 hours, I like that. That's a
in
good idea.
addition to, it would be like virtually, I'm like so hard to try to define which
Yeah.
space.
No, this
Yeah,
is a good
this is
approach.
good.
Because,
Oh, but I have.
Can we get our signs free from Greenberg, is that right?
Yes, we do.
But I don't want somebody coming in and saying the sign doesn't match the regulation. That's what I'm.
No, this would
no,
still
it
match
says
regulation.
except, Mark, if you look at it, it says, except where
Where
parking
sign,
is
right.
prohibited, where spaces are specifically marked for a shorter period.
Right,
It
okay.
should be 6
Yeah,
hours.
so that's why it gives us, I think, the flexibility that we need there.
And
You
the
have
other-
a trouble with that with the 2 hours because it doesn't, say you could do it for a longer period, so.
The other
Make
one,
it
I know
6,
that we
and then
had,
you make a few
You might
exceptions as
2 hours.
needed with the, keeping in mind what Brian just said, that some of those could be seasonal 2 hours because of
Yeah.
the park.
Mhm.
So between they're 2 hours. I think that's, I mean, that would be legal to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think that's a good idea.
Now, the other thing I was gonna point out was that spot,
Oh,
Which
wow.
is-
the parking spot that we talked about, the parking, I thought there were two next to the Astor parking lot, but there's actually one very large one.
Yeah.
You could see a normal-sized car, it's like a
Oh, yeah,
space
you're
and a
right, that
half.
could be two.
So we could put a mini in,
Yeah, it's hard,
not a mini, a
That's where you
smart, a
park your
smart car.
it's not
RV.
wide enough, it's not long enough to have two spaces
Really?
there, unfortunately.
Oh, those tiny little cars.
And,
Do we make the entrance an exit narrower and make it two?
Yeah, but you're really affecting sight lines pulling out of the parking lot, so it's, you gotta balance
No,
it
you
out.
say no vans or tall cars
Or compact
allowed?
cars only?
I mean, I've
Or
seen a
maybe
lot of signs
only
like that,
cars.
compact only.
I don't even, I mean, you could fit two smart cars there, you can't fit even.
Could you make the sidewalk half as wide and make them perpendicular parking?
Nah, that was not.
Yeah, that's really squeezing it in, I don't know. Good question.
Because then you could have like 4 spots there.
God, that looks like a giant spot.
it is a giant spot.
Well, how about at
That's
least
for the-
what do you call, a motorcycle plus a car?
We put our bike racks there. We'll keep it open for the bike racks.
Yeah, good idea.
Oh, that's not a bad.
Anyway, just leave it as
I think it's gotta stay for that.
And maybe that's where when the food van needs to set up with a table behind it,
Right,
that's the food van parking spot.
right.
Mark, I have to say, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh,
Okay, okay.
Is this any better?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, then, did you want to hear that?
Him, what he said?
Yeah.
No.
That's all right.
No, just in theory.
In fact, she said she just turned off her hearing aid.
Because I don't have a hearing. Okay.
Okay, then back
Maybe
to,
continue.
back to 6-hour parking. And then on the north side of Bridge Street, and I know Google says Buckout, but our village map showed it as Bridge Street. I'm sorry, at the last meeting I said there was a sign there. There isn't a sign, it's on our maps. But it's clear when you're talking between North Astor and North Buckout, which street you're talking about. So the north side of Bridge Street from a point 105 feet east, right now it's 85, so this will change it to 105 feet east of North Astor Street, the end of the 2-hour parking spaces eastward to North Buckout. And then, all right, then, also 6 hours would be the east side of North Buckout. North Buckout, okay. South Buckout Street on both sides from Main Street to Station Road. The South Buckout Street Annex, which is now 6 hours. And then the east side of all those streets, Cotton, Dutcher, Ecker, Ferris, and North Dearman and South Dearman, both sides. And I believe those were the only changes made to that law. Let me just double check. The only changes from the last draft. And then the only other thing was I moved the 6 hour to right after the 2 hour. It had been further down in the section, but I thought they should be next to each other, so
And
some
this-
of the numbering is changing.
Larry, North Dearman and South Dearman are staying 6. I know North Dearman has businesses on it. Does South Dearman have businesses as well?
No, there's no
No,
businesses
South Dearman
there.
doesn't have, the dentist is right here
Yeah.
at the corner, but
To be honest with you, and we sort of touched on it at the work session, there aren't any complaints currently, like there was no problem to be solved, so I couldn't justify any sort of a change. It's not like we need extra 2-hour parking in that section. I mean, you have it all
Yeah.
along Main Street
Main
there.
Street.
So it's, again, there probably are lots of things that we would not have thought about, because I don't even know what all the dynamics are up on that street, so the easiest thing was to leave it. That's the best way I can describe it. It's quite a hodgepodge of a street. You have residents and pretty intensive businesses too, so.
Mary Ann, on page 2 of the written things, Larry and I both noticed that at 1C, that I think you wanted to cross out that very first part that starts with South Buckout Street Annex.
Yeah.
At that spot, I think you wanted to start with 6-hour parking, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It just wasn't crossed out.
Oh, it is on mine.
Oh, okay, yeah, it didn't come
Oh,
from
it
mine
didn't
then.
cross out on.
For whatever reason, it didn't come, okay,
Oh,
so that's fine.
okay.
We'll make sure that the version that is filed is,
Okay, all
Sure.
right.
Okay, is that the only other thing that
That's-
was up
that's
here?
the
It
only
shows
thing I
up on
noticed
my-
when I was-
What happens is, I don't everybody say, you still use word perfect, but I do, I still use word perfect. And I send it, when I send it to Larry, it translates, and I can, my
Look,
software
when you look
translates
at it, it
everything
looks
to
fine.
Word. So it was fine. Couple things don't come out, like I think the highlighting didn't
The
come out,
highlighting
right?
is.
no, the highlighting is
You can
there.
tell that
The
it's
Yeah.
highlighting came out.
Yeah, and a lot of, and
Once-
all the
yeah.
other crossouts came too, so that's
Yeah,
why
once
it's,
in a while it doesn't, so
That's
you
fine.
know what, you should make sure
Page two.
that oh gosh, but the word is
Very,
long.
very
It's,
faint.
I don't know.
That's fine,
This
I'll-
line is supposed to be
That's
crossed
fine.
out.
just a minor
Now,
thing.
if that's the only one that was off, keep an
Yeah.
eye out.
That's,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, I don't get this.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a
Okay.
reason.
I didn't, then I gave up trying to figure it out, but then I talked to Larry and I understood then, so, good.
Okay, then the other law, the municipal parking didn't need any changes. Okay, resident parking permits, that one has,
Where are we now? The new law, keep going.
I'm looking at my
So
draft.
Word perfect is page 39.
For us, it's,
That is, that we still have.
Probably,
So it's
probably
seven-
7C, right?
7C, yes. On the agenda,
Okay.
7C?
oh, but it's not page 9, 10 of the,
No.
this, all right, oh, you have to go back to this.
Who
chart.
said page 9?
Oh, I just meant of the, of the
It says, it says with respect to resident parking permits,
Okay.
okay?
So we're skipping 7B for the moment.
There's no changes.
There's no
on
changes.
that. No changes on that, and no changes on the double parking lot. Those are just the same.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm only going through the ones that are the same. I mean, change. Okay, the main change on this was to take out the employer parking permits. There's a few other, and then I talked to Larry about it, is it even worth doing, because the changes are so minor, the changes are really just either tweaks with capitalizing or, changing it to actually reflect the practice. It talks about there being a stick or a decal when there's not stick or decal.
But wouldn't this be the time to do that? I mean,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why the changes are left in here. And there's a couple of things that on page 4 of that, those two things crossed out, the no less than 20% and the short-term parking. Those were things that were in the law passed in the legislature, but it didn't need to be in this law. It didn't make sense for it to be there, so that came out. But, so the changes in here are, oh, I know. There's one other thing that needed to be changed. If you look at the top of 4, it's only vehicles properly exhibiting a resident parking permit, shall be permitted to park in excess of the posted 2-hour, 4-hour, 6-hour limits, except, this language is added, except that the resident parking permit shall not permit parking on Main Street in excess of the posted limits, nor shall it permit parking in municipal parking areas listed in 21322. I don't know if it's not
7C,
in the
page
law
4.
now, but is that in fact the practice?
That's the case, yes.
Okay,
The
got it.
permit,
It's
the
yeah.
permit can't be applicable to parking spaces on Main Street because the legislature dictated that it can't have resident parking in front of businesses, essentially,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
excludes
So anyway,
Main
this
Street.
just makes this reflect what's the actual situation.
Right.
But now the language is clear. So these are no substantive changes, just tweaks. But nonetheless, as long as you're, renoticing it, you should be renoticed. The other two are exactly the same.
All right.
Okay.
We
So
did
the
get
the
one,
place where you were putting in.
one letter.
Okay, I guess we just talked about that. Where you're putting in the idea of having businesses with special permits. You just talked about that, right? I was looking for
It's
it.
all taken out.
Yeah, right, it's all crossed out in that part now.
Yeah, no references to employee parking permits or no
And-
anymore. Because then there's all these 6-hour spaces now.
And then they can also apply for the aqueduct lot, but I don't think that changes anything
No.
in this law, but.
no,
a
those
business
daytime
could.
permits.
Right, excuse me, did you want to read that letter?
I was going to.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We had one piece of correspondence on this hearing. Those board members, I cannot be at the meeting tonight, so I wanted to briefly share some of the further thoughts on changes to parking regulations. I should note that I ran into Larry recently, who told me that the board had taken residents' comments seriously and was going to propose modifications to initial plan changes, so I want to express my appreciation for that. However, in light of the recent meeting I had with Joe Archino and what I heard at the RPAC meeting last night about changes that RPAC is going to recommend to the board that will potentially increase the volume of people using Matheson, a good thing, I think, I believe the public parking spaces on, at a minimum, North Buckout Bridge and North Astor Streets and River Road should be limited to 2 hours except for those with a resident parking permit. Due to the post office park users and shoppers, there simply be too little parking to allow for day trippers to New York City and various employees to park on these streets for up to 6 hours. I believe that if this change were made to the proposed regulations, there will still be an ample spaces for day trippers and employees on the other streets that will have a mix of 2 and 6 hour spaces. Thank you for consideration of these remarks, Tom Thacker. I would say that, we did add, we did obviously add a chunk of 2 hour on North Buckout. We added around the corner as well, so I think that'll actually help with the post office as well as Matheson. And we're going to also look at potentially seasonal parking for some of the parks. And we can also, I think, easily change the North Astor piece if we see that there is a sudden overflow.
Especially for businesses.
Yeah.
No, I was just wondering if there was anything else that came out of that RPAC meeting, was there anything beyond?
I was
what
not
you
at that
just-
meeting, so I'm not sure what
Oh.
the issues were.
Yeah.
I read the minutes and I didn't see anything specific. I mean, I know they're looking at, updating the bathrooms and looking at new,
I know that the playground committee is meeting as we speak.
so that's going to be,
For more
this could be
specifics.
a school to the playground, so that might, and I think that's really just been an inflow of young families, so,
More than I recognize,
yeah.
realized having attended those first 2 park meetings. A
Mhm.
lot of young families with similar desires and needs for change.
So we didn't, and we aren't now, but the Bridge Street on the other side of the tracks, most of those on the west side are Metro North marked spots. And then on the east side of the Bridge Street that's on the west side of the tracks, I think those are all 6 right now.
The east side, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, these right here are all
Yeah.
6,
Right, 6.
And they're gonna stay 6.
And
yeah,
that they,
I'd say.
so the only thing I can think of is if the park needed a couple of those at the top, maybe that's what would change at some point if the park seasonally, just like you're talking about, you add one here, one here. But I don't know if there's been an analysis of how many the park people need. I mean, was there any, just we'd like more, but there was
No,
never.
it was if you build them, they will come.
Yeah, right,
And I
okay.
think, the idea of, especially on North Astor, calling them 6 with the flexibility
Mhm.
as we determine. I've always said that here, we could steal a few spots.
I'm sorry, I can't see that.
The
Can you zoom in?
In front of the,
Just,
south of the boat club.
yes,
I'm
just south.
yeah, they're like,
It's an extended zone.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, is it a delivery extension?
No, the only thing that, as I recall anyway, from the.
Trucks turning?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the turning of the trucks.
Mhm.
So you have trucks coming off the bridge on a single lane, turning down here. There's going to be an overage into here. Now, how far down it should go,
Right.
I,
Yeah, I mean, that's just a
that
possibility.
could be looked at, yeah.
If we were looking, right.
We'd have to have, someone more knowledgeable about turning radiuses. and
We just put up
things
sign warning trucks,
like that.
But I really like
Park
the
at your own
idea
risk.
of labeling 6 hours, and we can always sign it for shorter times.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of assumptions, and both among ourselves as well as some public comment, that there's plenty of this or not enough of that. We don't know.
Right.
And this will help us find out.
Right. I think, the seasonal thing makes even more sense to me, that there are fewer people commuting in different summer months. In July and August, they're often those pay-for-the-day spots are way more likely to be available.
in the regular 6 hours as well.
Right, and so that the need for the 2 hour near the park seasonally.
Yeah, maybe
could
even
be,
all of those
really-
on North Buckout
You
can
could,
be
they're,
2 hour during the, summer, even just July and August,
yeah.
or, June, July, or August, whatever.
So maybe Larry, when there's more talk at RPAC about this, I mean, I'm sure Joe will hear this, but just to communicate that idea of the seasonal change for some, with that need in mind. As far as Scenic Hudson, nobody's talking about needing more down there, are they?
I don't think
I
anyone's.
mean, there's nothing you can do.
Well, I mean, as long
It's
as
too
they have
bad.
the availability of that parking lot in
Bridge Street.
Bridge Street lot.
Yeah, I mean, for the activities that happen off hours,
Right.
there's continues to be cooperation, but that's only on a cooperation basis. It's not, we don't have a right to it
No,
necessarily.
that I mean, but the
Right,
ones,
that lot gets filled.
but the ones that are
Which one, the
actually,
closest- the
you know,
furthest
in
south?
Scenic
I didn't
Hudson,
even know you
the
went
parallel
Well,
ones.
after hours, you can park in there.
I
mean, during the day-
We're not expanding it. I mean, there's little room to
No,
expand.
I know, there's nothing you can change, but,
Right.
I mean, there's nothing that really stops somebody from parking there and going to Matheson Park.
No, but,
I mean, it's a little
Right.
uphill, but if you're going there to exercise, you might as well
There's
look
also
up the hill.
nothing stopping people from parking there and getting on the train.
right?
Well, that is, right, I guess
Well,
there
that
isn't.
happens.
Does it happen?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, well,
Is it easy to switch out the signs, switch out the 2-hour to?
It's not, it's.
I mean, maybe
Wouldn't be that
there's a
difficult.
kind of sign, you know, maybe you could get a kind of sign that it would.
You flip
turn it around.
It wouldn't be
No.
that
We
difficult.
don't want other people switching in. We
Changes.
don't want to make it
Yeah.
too easy.
Or when I need a spot.
Yeah.
It's now 6.
It's the mayor's.
14-hour spot. Right? Actually, it's funny, Kira sent me an email. It was up in Armonk. It was very funny. It was the reserved parking Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Early bird Mayor David Gould. Like I said, he has like a parking spot
Just for the early-
just for early bird mayor.
Nice.
But his name is actually on it. It doesn't even say mayor. It's Mayor David Gould. She was mocking
His
me.
name
No,
isn't Early Bird.
no. He's the early bird mayor. He's the only park from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
And then he goes home?
No, he goes for big egg and cheese. I have no idea. I don't have any contacts. It was very odd. She's like, you need some kind of cool sign. Pretty funny.
You could have one on River.
Yeah, exactly. Right in my park, my
Right, right in your
driveway.
driveway.
I keep saying the spots in front of Village Hall should be reserved on,
Meeting nights?
on trustee nights, yeah, BOT nights.
Ooh. Now we want perks. Perks.
Anyway, any public comment on parking?
Public comment?
Ship it.
Okay.
We'll continue on then.
Well, Brian, I would,
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Brian, I'm sorry, Larry, I would just ask that before we vote, if we could just get a number.
Yeah. Mhm.
Net number of
Yep.
2s and 6s versus old 2s and 6s.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
I'd still say that I'm happy
Plus
with
6, minus 6.
getting rid of the need for the employee passes, but I'm still very concerned about monitoring and finding out if these numbers make sense over time. And also, obviously, to beat a dead horse, efficient enforcement.
Yes,
And I think that just passing changes in parking without having ancillary work process / tools to monitor and better enforce the violations, I think we're just kind of kicking the can
Maybe we can,
down the street and
during the
Down the
budget,
street.
during the budget,
smiling at each
during
other.
the budget process, we can maybe bring it up if they need equipment or manpower. But
Or
hopefully-
maybe before the budget process, it should be discussed.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like when the chief comes in, we can prep the chief that, you know, this is obviously a priority. We're fixing
Yeah, no,
downtowns.
I've certainly
Well, we
spoken to him.
can start investigating the different companies that make those kind of readers. I mean, there must be a variety of them. Could we do that, you know,
We have a fair amount of research on
Yeah,
that.
Elmsford did a lot as well. So.
Yep.
And, there's another thing I was thinking of.
Now, are we going to get into any kind of labor issue with using automated, someone on the street just driving around?
I don't see why.
Same guy driving around just will have something in his hand. He'll be happy. He won't have to get out and put chalk in the tires.
But, I mean, the thing is, it's also going to prove the frequency and the coverage, you know, like whether or not there's really good coverage of the various neighborhoods going on.
So your village officials meeting has there been a discussion of the different villages and what they, you said Elmsford has given you input. That would be a great topic if anybody else has,
We had someone come in to talk about parking. I say it was a Bardsley, a year ago. It was actually, it seemed nice, the bikes maybe?
Yeah,
I think it
You're
was. So it wasn't that long ago.
it wasn't a great presentation, though.
No.
At least
That's what
when I
I-
She was
remember.
like a
It was okay.
parking czar or something, and she was not that impressed. Like, it was more interesting, like, learning about the technology.
that's what I
but
mean, something
she
about
didn't-
the.
It was all about metered parking, really. But it was like, enforcement obviously is the key, because if you're not enforcing it, nothing works. But that was the interesting part, the rest of it was, but I think they ended up looking at a bunch of companies and pricing it out.
Yeah.
So, and it goes right on the car, so you don't have to do anything, you just drive by, and it's, so.
So, we've sort of told the public up till now that they shouldn't sort of worry because this is a work in progress and we'll be continuing and working. And I
Right.
think, is it fair to say now that we might be prepared to be voting on this at our next meeting? And the public should be aware of it?
Yeah, I
I
think so.
would be okay with that.
Yes.
I mean, it would certainly encourage between now and then,
Right.
any more comments.
But to sort of state, so no one
Yeah.
comes.
Right,
Yeah,
so we're
no,
not
they
doing
may-
this,
you-
And I could summarize.
Never-
This is
never
the
told
good
us.
night.
You can also call it final,
Yeah.
final public hearing, and then if for some reason
You
it
can
needs
always-
to be
Right.
open, you can have a new public
Could I
hearing.
just
We have the next
suggest,
final public hearing.
in
Penultimate final.
knowing the way things go and the way people are very busy, it might be worth making a specific village email about that,
Yeah.
not
I
just
made a note of that.
relying on the agenda.
Yeah, no, I just made a note of that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and I can do a summary of what the changes are
Yes.
in total, not just the changes from one to the other, but in total what the changes
Yeah.
are, so that's not a problem.
And maybe provide a
Good,
Yeah.
Maybe.
hallelujah.
Moving on.
Resolve to appoint Zoe Hamilton Lombard as a member of the Irvington Woods Committee for Chairman's Fire.
Before we get off, can I just
Oh,
ask
sure.
one other question? I'm sorry, it just occurred to me.
Oh.
Thinking about making it clear to people. Larry, do you know how long it would take to re-sign the changes?
It's gonna be a little bit. It's gonna be, I mean, all the signs have to get made up and installed, and it's the middle of the winter, so it's not always so easy.
No, I know, but do we, can we get a sense, because like if we pass this,
I don't
I'm
think.
trying to think, what's the cutover? How do we?
I don't think you're looking at implementing it until probably April 1st. That would be my guess. Like, really be set and buttoned up.
That's a month earlier than I would have guessed. So that's not-
Maybe a little, yeah, maybe a little
So in
earlier.
other words, nothing takes, assuming we have a final, public hearing at our next meeting, and let's say this version passes,
Right.
the amount of time for it to actually go into effect is when the signage goes up. No?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you can't enforce something that
I mean, you can't,
isn't
right, if
properly
it's all
signed.
these kooky signs, even
Right.
though it would be on the books, it wouldn't be in
Right.
effect.
Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
I think that would be good for people to know.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
then, and then the enforcement of all this happens after the signage is up, right? Okay.
Are you here for parking?
Yes.
You just made it. We're just about to move on, so if
Are
you...
you kidding me?
No, if you don't...
When did the meeting start?
7.
7.
Oh, I thought 7:30.
That's
Oh, I
okay.
apologize.
That's okay. You don't have to
Okay,
apologize.
great, you're
Oh, my
You
goodness.
just wait, you don't have to wait and sit for all the
I
phone
know,
stops.
no.
You could have been watching us on TV and walking up here right in front
It was
of you.
perfectly
I
timed
thought
to
it was,
talk.
oh my goodness. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad that, thank you. So, well, I'm not sure what you said, but I
We
did.
fixed everything once.
Good job. Did you read Tom's letter into the
Yes.
record?
Just read
Okay,
it
so I
into
just
the
want to reiterate a couple of different things, because I know he's on a committee for the parks, and talking about the use of the park. And both of us are both happy that this is underway and believe that a lot of good things can come out of it. But one of the concerns that I have about it is that it will increase parking on Buckout Street, because the goal is to and used, which is a good goal. But that means more people will be parking on Buckout and on the turn down toward the park. So we're concerned about that. And I sort of wanted to reiterate what my neighbor Arthur Segretti said a few sessions back. when he talked about Buckout being sort of having a very different kind of, it's a different street than those in the village. And I've been thinking about that, and I think he's quite right about that. In many ways, Buckout is a continuation of Main Street. That Main comes down, and then traffic turns right on North Buckout, and so it has many of the characteristics of Main Street in terms of the amount of traffic on it, the flow on it, and also businesses. So we have a restaurant that isn't operational now. Parking is still difficult on the street. It will increase and become more difficult if and when the restaurant opens again, which I imagine it will. Yeah, Il Sorriso is closed and parking is difficult. Il Sorriso is closed and parking is difficult. The post office puts a lot of stress on parking. People who we understand would like to make quick trips into the city, I believe there are other streets that would better serve those needs. The post office parks their trucks out there. I think there used to be some kind of understanding that they didn't do that. That understanding seems to have been broken. There are 2 or 3 post office
I
trucks.
see them every morning.
And so they're not supposed to be there. I have to not glare at the postal workers, when they come out and move their trucks around. They have a parking lot. And it might be annoying for them to move a truck to get a truck out, but they have a parking lot, which is empty a lot of the time. So I would...
Any chance to...
We can write them a letter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was always my understanding that was the that was the understanding, right? That they were not supposed to park on the street. I so appreciate your willingness to listen. This is my 3rd time up here. We've written letters. I've talked to my neighbors.
Yeah.
I really appreciate, and I know you're listening, and I know you're trying, and I know that I am one interest, and you're balancing competing interests. I completely
Well,
understand
you
that.
do, I don't know if you've seen this, but the new version, you can have my copy.
Thank you.
This is existing, you can just want to compare it. So we're adding a lot of 2-hour parking, and we were just talking about adding seasonal 2-hour parking for the parks, when you say maybe from May 1st to September 1st or something, when it would be the most use of parks. To make it, we were talking about signage, we actually have it in our code, where we can put in different signs.
Yeah.
So we say, May 1 to September 1,
Wait,
2-hour
it was
parking.
June.
Or whatever.
Would there still be 6-hour parking on Buckout?
On the north side.
Just on one side, not on the...
I'm sorry.
East
the-
There is no
East-
north.
the east side,
North
yeah.
is along
And the north,
Matheson
there's
Park.
still some on the
We
north as
just
well.
made a north side.
No, there is a north side.
There's Matheson Park when it makes the
Yeah.
hook onto the Tiffany Estates. That's the
That's
north.
Bridge Street.
That's, what, is it River? What is it called?
Bridge
Arch?
Street.
Bridge, all right, so,
I still call that
So-
north Buckout, but.
east or west would be 6-hour
If you
parking.
look on
It's on the
the,
map.
Okay.
look on that,
So
and
the
look
blue-
at
Proposed,
proposed.
existing, there's 2-hour and 6-hour marked. What we tried to do is
Oh, I
balance.
see, the color.
The blue is
Got it.
6-hour and the green is 2-hour.
Okay.
One of those
So where are
is
we?
existing, the other is proposed.
All right,
So
so
some are, all right.
So you can actually see on here, if you look here,
That's
green
far.
is,
So this, so here's North
That's
Buckout Street. This
6.
is proposed as 6, and this is
6.
proposed as 2.
Yeah.
Changed to...
currently those are all 6.
Right.
And then turning the corner, that used to be 6, and that's gonna now be 2.
Yes.
And on the
Down
other
there,
side,
that's
it's
all-
gonna be extended to from, I think,
This is a
2 or
That
3
is
more
2
than-
currently. There are
But
going
there's a
But
couple
there's gonna be
couple
more.
extra.
Okay.
So it's making 2 more
And then
2
as you
hours.
see the Astor Street
Will be
blue,
all
which is
6.
6, we have the flexibility of changing that as we decide.
So
If we
that w-
designate it 6,
This is 2 currently.
we can change
That would
it.
be seasonal at the top,
We can
probably.
change that seasonally to 2 as needed.
And
Or
there'll
for
also be
business.
6-hour,
Or for businesses, which
I see.
and 6-hour on one side of the other streets going up.
That
So-
one becomes 6 right there.
This
So-
here right along the tracks, which is
Yeah, I
currently
do. So
2.
that's proposed to
gonna
be
go to
6.
Yes.
So we're trying to obviously balance all of the concerns.
Oh, yeah, no, I see.
So we're trying to remove, we're trying to make up for some of the Buckout, North Buckout 6s, we move them elsewhere.
So although, it goes all the way up to Ferris, where the alternate sides are 6 and 2.
And then on the north,
Yeah.
or east of all that will all be 6? I'm guessing?
This is,
Yeah.
Sorry, this is.
That's
this
the
is,
old
this is
one.
the
No,
old one.
That's
Hold on,
the
hold on,
old.
hold on.
Okay,
That's
so that's,
current.
okay.
Right,
Hold
or
on.
the current and
That's the
then the
existing,
new.
right?
Proposed.
Yeah, proposed, there.
There you go, that's proposed.
Proposed.
So instead of
Yeah,
only keeping Buckout and Cottonette with the sixes are dispersed all the way up
I see that.
to Ferris. And actually also North Dearman, but
And it also looks like the bottom 2 blocks of Main Street will be 6.
yes.
They-
They're
Which they are.
current- they're
Which
current-
they
they're
are.
currently
That's the
6.
same.
Okay, that
Right.
stays the same.
So
So-
Kate, separate from this, I think the board would agree that we're also open to the idea of some kind of traffic control in terms of directing traffic
Separate
perhaps
from
away
this.
from, separate from parking.
Yeah.
In some way, not making it as inviting for people to make that right turn on North Buckout.
Elizabeth Thruway.
Perhaps forcing them to go on Astor Street to get to Bridge Street,
Yeah,
to get to the other side.
they get left turn only, the things we talked about.
Yeah, I think that, well,
That's
that would
something
be,
that I think would also make a difference in terms of life on. North
hopefully,
Buckout.
because it still is, I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous, the flow of traffic, especially at commuter time, morning and evening. It's dangerous.
We also talked about the technology piece that you heard us talking about,
Yes.
and we are looking at in the budget season to make sure that the right kind of technology that makes the reading of the cars that have been there beyond their allotted time are
Enforcement, the enforcement, that's key to making this work.
Well, absolutely. I mean, none of this will make any difference unless there's enforcement, because right now, the lax enforcement makes it very inviting for people to park. It's a pretty lucky bet that you won't get a ticket,
Yeah, right.
so.
That will change.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the thoughtfulness of this. I still have concerns, and
And
but-
you can express them at the next open meeting.
Exactly, exactly. No, I'm not going to try to, so I hope this works.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Believe me.
I hope this works, and I'm sure that you'll invite feedback on the process. When
Yeah,
do you
absolutely.
when do you expect this to start?
So if we
Well,
vote,
no, I'm sorry, the question was, when do you expect it to be implemented?
Yes.
Well, they haven't adopted it yet, so their next meeting, the plan is, we're going to continue the public hearing, but hopefully, unless there's other significant feedback, they'll adopt that.
Okay.
Once it's adopted, I threw out a date of April 1st by the time signs are made up and
I see.
installed, and
Okay.
it's the middle of the winter, so you never know.
Right.
So, but we'll
So it won't be adopted
publicize-
tonight?
no,
No,
okay,
no.
no.
No, we're keeping it open, the public hearing's open.
Okay.
It's just a weird night that I'm not sure if people knew we were rescheduled to.
Oh, I know. I tried to call my neighbors who said, well, I didn't know it was Thursday. It's like, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have,
I'll go.
It's with the holiday.
At our next
We had the
meeting-
holiday on Monday.
Oh, I
so.
understand. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
why-
right.
For our next meeting, we hope to vote and give it a try, and then if we'll fix it if it's broken.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you
Sure.
for letting me zip up and say something.
right.
Thank you. Have a
It was
good rest of
perfect
your
timing.
Yes, yes.
I'm so glad I
Very
made it.
efficient.
We got it.
wasn't
It was good
meant to
for
be.
us to say it again, so that in case people were confused when we talked about it, the great public out there.
And Kate, did I read your letter to the editor in the Times?
Oh, I read
Really a
it.
great letter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I've sent in letters and I've never gotten one picked to be published.
It was really, I've sent in one. It was a fluke. Wisconsinite, I was like, it genuinely made me sad. And I was like, and as I was typing it, Tom was like, that they're not going to publish that. So that was kind of fun that they did.
Oh, they like that Scarsdale teacher or the teacher
Oh.
thing on it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, let's publish this one.
Okay.
Anyway,
I appreciate that.
for your
Thank you.
input. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
Resolved to appoint Zoe Hamilton von Bauer as a member of the Irvington Woods Committee for a term to expire December 2019. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Yes. Zoe wins my name of the night, too. Actually, Larry, I was funny. I said I was surprised my daughter wasn't on this? And she said, I don't know why I'm not on it.
Oh,
So,
all right, well,
we can add her to the list.
okay, if you want to do that, we can do it.
It was pretty fun. She's like, I haven't missed a meeting this year. I was like, okay, easy. I was just surprised we're not on it. Resolved to appoint the following volunteer committee members with the term to expire December 2019, as detailed below.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion if I can have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Well, this
Oh.
is this is a list of both kids and adults
Correct.
and staff. all who are listed on this 2 pages. of
Everyone but
names.
his daughter.
That was my daughter.
Apparently, yeah.
Discussions on that? I don't, maybe I was off in space, but I don't remember that anyone mentioned it was for the CAB.
It was in the title of the agenda item, I think.
Volunteer appointments. to the
I know, but
Community
when,
Advisory
you
Board.
know,
Yeah,
someone's
Oh,
just
you didn't
listening
read
to
it.
the
the
resolution, you're right, the resolution didn't have it.
No, but,
But the title is volunteer appointments to the
Yes.
Community Advisory Board, but it says resolved to appoint the following volunteer committee members, term to expire 2019.
Okay.
We could say to the Community Advisory
we'll
Board.
clean that up.
Good.
I
Okay,
just
we
want to
said
make
it
sure
now.
people listening
Yeah, yeah.
understand what it's about, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we said it now.
It's good, put it in there.
So we said we were going to table 10 because we weren't in agreement, right? Kidding.
What? Oh,
No, it was here. So I figured I'd take a shot at you since you're the only one here. So after a very brief, quick process and very easy negotiations, we are very happy to finally announce a memorandum of agreement with the Irvington Police Association. I'd like to thank, Larry and Mike's team of 5 guys.
5, yeah. Well, it was probably 8 with those that retired, so.
Yeah, some of them were rookies when we started, and they retired for 20 years. I will refrain from thanking either of our professional staff members or attorneys, but I'm very happy that we got what I think is a pretty fair agreement on both sides. I'm hoping this is the start of a new day where we can all work together, and I think at the end I felt pretty good about the way the negotiations went at the end. I felt like we were pulling together and trying to get it done and trying to get something fair. And I feel vindicated that I said we were 99% there. So now we're 100%. So is there anything else to say, Larry? Or?
No, it's a 7-year agreement.
It all comes down to one little tiny resolution. It just feels kind of,
pages, I mean,
there's a lot of pages
there are a lot of
behind it, but the
pages. We
resolution
have
is
all the
very short.
pages here.
Resolved to approve a memorandum of agreement dated January 7, 2019, in settlement of a collective bargaining agreement with the Irvington Police Association with a term of June 1st, 2014 to May 13th, 2021.
May
31st.
May 31st, 2021. I'll make a motion if I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We should have a public comment on it.
Can I make a comment?
Sure. Of course.
I just wanted to thank, I'm Mike Foley, President of the Irvington PBA. I wanted to thank Brian and Larry especially, who put in a lot of their own extra time. It was a long process, but we got there. And thank you all.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming back and working.
Have a good night.
All right.
Good night.
Stay safe. And then immediately, there's some salary modifications. Approval of salary modifications for the police chief and police lieutenant. I assume, Larry, that you should be supplying the
Same
settlement.
percentages, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any questions? Resolved to make the following retroactive salary modifications. Chief
Does it
Serrano.
say, and this doesn't say the difference between what the modification, it went from to or it's just saying what it is
It went from
now?
164, 689 to 167.
Oh, these are the same, oh, wait a minute. Do you pair up 2 dates?
This was his
Oh,
rate
oh,
This is what he was,
here, then he
Here.
moved up the next year, then he moved up the next year.
so these never happened?
Correct.
Because there wasn't a
Correct.
settlement?
this is
Right,
all
correct.
the police officers, they can get their raises.
So this is what it stayed at this,
Right, because this is.
because he
right.
didn't, okay, I got it, okay. He didn't go
Exactly.
over that. Okay.
So the chief went from 164, 689 back to June 1st, 2014, to 188.98 on June 1st, 2018. Lieutenant Mike Morano went from $131,680 to $144,640, same period, June 1, 2014 to June 1, 2018.
So the question is, they're due back pay, I take.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Right, and same with the police officers themselves.
And that's been budgeted for every single year for the last 10 years.
Yeah, well, 7 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is set aside. The amount that we set aside was less than what the ultimate settlement was for, but it's been accounted for in the upcoming year's budget process that I've spoken with Brenda about. We can go into more detail as we
The fun
discuss the
part for
budget.
Brenda is people that have retired, she has to figure them out now, like it's a,
It's, let's put it this way, the raises they'll get almost immediately, the next paycheck. The retroactive pay, we have 60 days, and what our plan is to take a very large spreadsheet, do the best we can with it, and actually hand it off to the union first before we issue the retroactive pay. Let them have a chance to look at it, make any corrections, if there's any corrections needed, and then we'll issue the pay. But that's a pretty long process. They're already working on it, as you can imagine. But it's, we have 60 days to do that.
Well, just may echo the thanks to you two and to the union for getting this done.
Yeah, it feels good. Anyway, resolved with the chief and attendance raises, so I guess, motion, I have second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Award of contract for timber guide rail and slide gates.
So this is a segment of guide rail which we thought was close to about $35,000, which is why we went out to bid for it. This guardrail is proposed and in some respects required, although it was a comment from the DEC. They were concerned with some tire tracks that they saw at the front of the dam right next to Field Point Drive. So from the intersection with Harriman Road, Field Point Drive, going back to the edge along the edge of the dam, they requested that a guide rail be put because they can't have
People driving on the dam.
driving on there, which surely looks like a lot of fun, but with the right vehicle, I suppose. But it really would do damage to the dam.
Larry, the building inspector, used to go up on Thursdays.
Yeah, exactly. They're really our tire
But
tracks.
the movies are shot up there, they can't throw the bodies over there.
Well, no, it's not going to it's not going to prevent access to
No, I
the
know,
dam.
right.
It's just we don't want vehicles up there, so that's it.
Whereas sealed bids were received and opened on January 9, 2019 at 11 a.m. in Village Hall as follows. Contractor Central Industries of Yonkers, $26,119 lump sum. Geocorp Contracting from Hawthorne, New York, $26,600. Parrot Enterprises, Inc. from Newburgh, New York, $29,445. Whereas the village administrator reviewed the bids submitted and determined that the lowest bidder is in order in response to the specifications, now therefore be it resolved to award contract 2019-02 for the timber guide rail and slide gates in the amount of $26,119 to Central Industries, Inc., and to authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. I'll make a motion for it.
Pause for a second. Why do we need gates? I wasn't clear on that.
Somebody has to get in.
So we can gain access. They're
So is this running parallel to Field Point?
Yes.
So there was like a little parking lot pull-off over there that people made use of.
At the bottom, right.
At the bottom.
But it's got some rocks in strategic places, so people can't get from that parking area up onto the dam.
Apparently it wasn't strategic enough.
No, but heading up Field Point Drive, you could drive right over the curb and up onto the dam currently.
So the intention is the
And the
look,
gates are for access, I'm sorry, just for village purposes, official purposes.
I realize that the purpose is to keep people out, but the look of these, when you say timber, this is just a rough kind of looking, natural kind of timber look, or
Well, it's a
what?
combination, so it's actually the exact gate that's in, the exact guardrail that's in the Aqueduct parking lot. So it has steel supports, but timber horizontal.
Trying to picture it.
It's new, we replaced it last year, so.
It makes like a big wooden timber,
Yeah.
but with like steel supports, but the guardrail isn't metal. The guardrail is wood, like a big wooden timber.
No, sir, just steel.
What?
Sorry.
I'm just
slow.
wondering what it's gonna look like. I mean, that's a beautiful
Do you want-
look, you know.
I might be able to get a picture of it, hold on.
Okay. Sure, put it no.
I will,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm not in charge of what it looks like, but I just
No, it's-
hope people are concerned that is a beautiful spot for people to look at that reservoir. And,
It's not a standard highway
yeah,
guardrail.
Okay.
I mean, that's the best I can say.
all right, it's nice.
It's a Joe Archino special.
I don't know about that, but
The least that you cover over the view, the better.
yeah, it's not, it's just, that's why we have the timber in it, so it's not just metal like what you see on an interstate. It's not
Riverview
true.
Road. We got metal on Riverview Road.
Do we?
Yeah, I mean, but we need a little reinforcement there for
People falling down
people in
there.
our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a
Mayor
good,
gets
I don't have a great picture of this.
Okay. Well, I mean, the bid has already gone out with the specs on it, so it won't matter
Yeah,
what I think anyways.
well, take a look at what's up in the aqueduct.
I will.
We replaced the old metal with, steel supports, but
You
timber,
mean going along Croton Place?
it's in the aqueduct, I can't, I
Okay,
don't have a good view of it. No, it's, I just,
Go ahead.
I don't have a good view of it here, but I can, you're gonna have to use your imagination, I think.
It looks like that.
Yeah.
Showtime.
Just use your imagination. TV Plus.
You can't see it. Hold on,
Let's do Hulu. Yes, so I put something on Hulu. Use my login.
if you want, it'll be up in a
I
second.
started binging Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's the best. It's so freaking funny. Kira and I watched it for years.
What's going on there?
That's why when they canceled it, I couldn't believe it. It's so funny.
I'm still on the first season. It's
Ah,
like
yeah.
22 episodes or something.
Yeah, it's great. It's just great characters.
Okay, this car.
All right, so, yeah, you see, you can't see it because of the mess, and these pictures were,
Cut those trees.
hold on. So the only view I have of it is like right there,
Okay.
and you can't, that's,
All right, that's what I said.
This going
It goes
across.
along Croton Place.
that going, yeah, it's
Yeah.
on the inside,
Yes,
faces the inside of the
On the inside
aqueduct.
along Croton
So
Place.
the horizontal here is timber, you're gonna have to take my word for that.
Right, so they're
So
not
what's the
big rounded things, they're not like looking like trees, they're cut into a timber, yes. I get it.
I don't know how else to describe it.
They're all organic though. So.
So how many feet does it run, actually? Can you
They're
go
feet.
back up to the map? Can you maybe go up to the reservoir and just point out where it's running?
Okay, we voted for it.
Hold on.
We haven't.
Yeah,
voted
yeah.
yet.
No, it's
Oh,
all right,
okay.
no, just,
All right.
you can watch me go through all my files. That's
No.
all. Because I believe we put a map in the bid specs, so.
Wow, that was,
I think it's about 400 feet, if I remember right.
Wow.
Well, that's
We have
beautiful.
100 pages of bid specs.
Well, I mean, it's all the legal stuff.
You have a picture in there, Larry?
Contract. I might, hold on. 600,
600 feet. It's a lot.
yeah.
That's a lot.
And if you want to see, this is the approximate location as was written by someone's handwriting. So it's this, right? See this, I could zoom in, hold on.
Software update.
No, but I'm not seeing. So right here, from here, down, and down. That's the approximate location. Is that, do you have your bearings there, or am I?
all right, I was thinking it was on the other side,
Yeah, so is
the
that.
reservoir side.
No, I was thinking it was on the other side.
Okay.
Up Field Point further.
So this is.
It is, this is Field Point right here.
I know, but it's not on the
It's
reservoir
sideways.
side.
No, it's not on the reservoir, it's along the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the other side
It's
of
the
okay.
the face of the dam.
Oh, yes, it is, okay, I get it.
And then it goes
Hold on,
behind
hold
the
on.
pump house,
Hold on a second.
the valve house?
No, it goes, no. Hold on.
There's Town Hall.
Yeah, there you go.
Files.
All right.
Really wave.
This is, I have to stop bringing my computer.
I'm
No, I'm
dizzy.
just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, so the zigzag that you saw here is,
Dog off leash.
this is that little parking area. There's
Yeah.
those few scattered rocks there, but the
Yeah.
guardrail's gonna replace those, go like this, and then up along Field Point.
All right, so it is on the side
So
of the
here, I'll show you,
reservoir.
I'll show you what, and so the reason you need it by the road is you don't want people up here.
Yeah, for sure.
Ah, so
It's not, this is not to prevent people from going in the water, it's for them to,
Not
to
driving.
destroy the
Not
front of the dam.
Right.
If you destroy the front of the dam, you damage its integrity, which is a big problem.
And then we'll be voting on a much larger,
Yeah, no, then you'll be in the Hudson River, probably, well, it depends on
So
where you
it's
live.
just in from the road by a few feet where guardrails
Yeah,
usually
the
are.
typical, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do they, when you get closer, I'm sure it's thought of, there's two buildings there along the face of the dam. One is, I don't know what one is, the other is that one there.
Yeah, one's a valve house, the other's, has some other equipment in it.
So it's not gonna be blocking that one off.
You can see
Looks
those.
like we already have one there, Larry. We need to replace that.
Yeah, you think?
Oh, wow.
We'll just reuse that exact timber.
Yeah. It's reclaimed.
Okay. Okay.
Adaptive reuse. Okay,
All right, I'll,
let's vote.
I'll make a motion if I have a second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
I'll
you.
say yeah. Are we gonna have reflectors like those, Larry? Because those look really nice.
You tell me what you want, you can have it. We'll have,
okay, let's see how long it can take deciding on the drum and bugle corps.
Anyone have any questions on the Drum and Bugle Corps?
No, exact
Same contract.
Resolved to approve the contract between the Village of Irving and the Tarrytown Vets Drum and Bugle Corps for the musical services, the 2019 Irvington Memorial Day services and parade on Monday, May 27, 2019, the amount of $1,300. And authorize the village administrator to execute said contract. I'll make a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? I always feel like we don't get our money's worth because they always end up being.
I have to make a comment to Janice. I'm sorry, Janice. I think it's our responsibility to actually understand what was being voted on. There was no documentation being supplied on the guardrail.
Okay.
So I do think it's, behooves us to take a few moments and see what we just saw so that we could say we were comfortable with it, rather than having it blowing up in our face later by having people asking us, how could we vote for something that we didn't even see? So anyways.
Larry, this certiorari is just a tiny little piece of land. We obviously talked about the check that went out to the big piece,
Yes.
and this was just a little tiny sliver.
This, exactly, it's about $3,300 over 6 years of a refund total. But it was a little sliver, which I don't remember the exact.
Not mistakenly included in the Dobbs Ferry
Right,
settlement.
right.
Because it's because it's Dobbs Ferry School District, and it was mistakenly included in Dobbs
Right.
Ferry, which is actually in
That
Irvington.
really makes sense then, why that little
Yeah.
sliver was
Yeah,
excluded.
thank you.
How much do we get back?
No,
We
we're paying.
paid-
Oh, it's a certiorari.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
we
paid-
have to,
We paid
whoops.
them $3,400.
Yeah, it's,
Dobbs Ferry was charged an extra 13, whatever the amount.
right.
Whereas petitions having been filed by the Hudson House Tenants Corp. here and petitioner challenging real property tax assessments in the Village of Irvington and the Town of Greenberg's assessment rules with respect to the subject property for the 2011 to 2017 tax years with respect to parcel designated as section 2.160, block 70, lots 1, SDF, property owner Hudson House Tenants Corp., Ardsley Avenue West, years 2011, 2016. Whereas petitioner's actions are now pending in Supreme Court, Westchester County, whereas the town and petitioner have reached a mutually agreeable solution, and now therefore the village is authorized to effectuate a settlement commensurate with the following terms. Proposed settlement section 2.610, block 70, lots 1, DF. It's, up top it was SDF, but we'll just make sure those are consistent.
Yeah.
The Village of Irvington's share of the refund is $3,358.55. I'll make a motion to pay it. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
SDF is correct, by the way.
SDF.
So I'll fix that in the resolution.
Reports of boards, standing committees, and officers. Trustee liaison reports. Mark?
Not too much, just that I saw that there's been some gathering of information about EV charging stations and grants thereof, and I think all the material's been forwarded to Larry.
Yep.
And it looks like there's some additional research needed to really clarify what costs are involved.
Right, and also, it would be helpful to have some concurrence about the proposed locations, so once
I
those.
just got a car that needs to be charged, so I think there should be one on the station.
Station Road, okay, that's one, any others?
Yeah, I know a driveway in Station Road that they have for that one.
So, I think so far the suggestion is somewhere in the Aqueduct lot, and possibly somewhere on the lower part of Main Street.
North Buckout?
No, I thought we were talking, actually, we're gonna have the
We got that giant parking spot.
6-hour spots.
That's true, yeah, but
Okay.
it's one.
Maybe the ones right by, like,
Yeah, but
maybe the
cars
new
anyway.
train spots, like the old station spots, whatever you call them.
Yeah, so, I can go
really
through
thought
this
about this.
through email to get some ideas,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
once we have that, then, we'll start pulling the other pieces together.
So there'll be two, is that what you're saying?
2 areas with, the way I had heard it was there were up to 4, you could get up to 4 heads, whatever charging spots is part of the grant. The information, I didn't look very closely at what was sent to you just from, by Nikki from Sustainable Westchester, but it
Right.
looked like it might have been a totally different grant structure than the one that NIAC was using and that Tarrytown
Right.
used. So I don't know what the constraints are. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I already went down a path with the previous grant that was offered by New York State with Ron Kamen, who was the person I was recommended to speak with. The location that was picked out was actually near the library because of the availability of power, to be able to tie into power. That's the other, part of all this to figure out. But The library ultimately decided that they didn't want 2 spaces dedicated to electric vehicles, so I didn't go forward with it. So anyway, we'll figure out a
All right, so
couple of
that's,
possible
that was
locations.
a GPTF. I think the other thing is that they want to talk to you about some additional public notification about food composting. I don't know if you saw that email going around, so you'll probably hear
Okay.
from either Leola or Ed Jaffe about that.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
It's time to start thinking about summer day camp. Information for 2019 summer day camp is available at the rec office. Winter Teenscape trip is scheduled. I believe it's for 6th through 8th graders for March 15th. They're doing one of those mystery room escape things.
At Village Hall.
Winter break, February 19th through 22nd, is the annual Teachers Basketball Club. It's a great clinic. You should consider signing your kids up for that. This week's Farmers Market will be at the Senior Citizen Center indoors from 9 till 1 this Saturday.
You know the reason for that change?
You know, I don't know if there was a specific reason other than I know that the farmers market, reached out direct to see if there was some availability, and, Joe met with the farmers market, and this was the one. There may be one more, I'm not sure.
They might be doing work on Main Street School, who knows? I don't know.
So to say it again, what's the change? It's which day?
This coming Saturday.
This Saturday?
Is at the Senior Citizen
Okay,
Center.
from 9 to 1.
Right.
Okay.
The one piece of information we probably need to know is whether or not there's going to be food compost collection or not at that location.
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't see why not.
No, but they're collecting it up at the Aqueduct. They've asked to have 2 spaces reserved at the Aqueduct parking lot so that they can collect it there.
Oh,
I don't know how they're going to get the word out about it. They can,
Okay, good, so at least there's some
but
kind of a
that's,
plan.
yes.
that's,
And the 4th public meeting to discuss rules and regulations for the parks will be held next Wednesday, the 30th, 7 p.m. at the Senior Center.
Thursday,
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
January 30th.
Apparently I can't be here.
That's it.
all right. The Highway Department, under the headline in this notice, winter storms. The word is none. So we've been lucky. And there are other things that the Highway Department has been doing, basic maintenance, assisting the Water Department with a water main break on Riverview Road. And repaired, replaced sidewalks and 2 driveway aprons on East Clinton, installing new signs as per the traffic committee, and filling potholes. So that's the highway. And then I have from Greg Allen, 2 Gregs here. As Brian and I know, Greg asked me to give a little shout out to that weekend work that was done by the commission. They met for 2 days. I was there one of them, Brian was there both days on the weekend. They all came together, the commissioners and the consultant, and talked about the mission, the projections, long-term strategy meeting. And the day I was there, I thought it was very productive. And Brian, you might have some comments on, it's all volunteer work that the commissioners do, so they were giving up a lot of time. Let's see, they said the mission was actually first created in the early 80s, so they were updating the mission of the theater. And Greg Allen also asked me to tell you that there's a diversity series, includes a session on immigration. Check calendar for dates. I can do that in a minute.
It's February 22nd.
Okay.
I can check it, I'll check it.
All right, you check it. And the other thing is that the fundraiser for the comedy night, I talked about that, I missed it, but apparently it was great. They raised $7,000 that night. Who went?
I went.
I didn't go. It was a scary weather night.
It was, I know.
It was It was forecast to be scary.
Yeah, it didn't turn out to be as bad.
It was fun though.
Yeah, I was in the city, but, I got home, but it was like, oh, okay. That was Greg Allen and you can look up the other
I'm looking,
piece,
yeah.
but
Just go
I
see.
have one other thing that I've been involved with, which is a good thing for Irvington, and that is the bridge, the bridge, the new bridge has provided a grant to historic Hudson River towns because the bridge really wants all their little, the word I didn't know before, their belvederes, the little areas that pedestrians and bikers will be able to stop at on the bridge. All of them are going to have a way to listen to information on a phone app, so you can hear about all kinds of things about the history of the river and the ecology and the, all kinds of things. So there was an RFP so that system could be set up for the bridge. But in addition, the towns to the north and south also were included in this grant. So that one of the companies we heard from 5 of them, and the grant was issued to one called Travel Stories. So if you want to put that app on your phone, you can see what they're like. But the grant will cover 2 places to be featured for each of the 16 villages. So we will have 2 places that we can put a narrative and get some photographs about, you're coming on Broadway and you'll see Madam C.J. Walker home here, or this is whatever we decide to focus on. And so will Terrytown and all. So it was very interesting to learn all this technology. And the one Travel Stories, we were all felt that it was, for the amount of money that the grant had, it was the best value. There were some that had more bells and whistles, but they weren't out of range for the grant. So anybody who's interested, I can tell you more about it, but eventually you'll see it. Anyway, I think that's end of my report.
And the Lift and Laugh Immigrant Stories is indeed on February 22nd, which is a Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Quick synopsis here. America's always been called the melting pot. What exactly does that mean? The Lady in the Harbors lifted her lamp for people from diverse lands, creating a rich tapestry of cultures of the fabric of the United States. Join us for the second event of our diversity series as people from Afghanistan, the Soviet Union, Pakistan, Paraguay, and Venezuela share the stories of coming to America and what it means to be an immigrant in this country. There'll be a Q&A, and it's a free event. No reservation or ticket necessary. Just walk up and come on in.
That's all right.
Where is it?
Town Hall Theater, 7:30, February 22nd.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Great. At the library this Saturday will be tips for downsizing from a professional organizer at 2 o'clock in the program room. In addition to reviewing best practices, the presenter will be taking questions, so you can ask about a particular problem you were facing. People are encouraged to register. It's a very popular program, so encouraged to register either by calling the library at 591-7840 or visiting the website irvingtonlibrary.org. And of course, the program is free, thanks to the free in capital letters, thanks to the generosity of the Friends of the Irvington Library. And this is the week that the library had extended hours to help students during Regents Week. Not a long report from the fire department, but one call they did in East Irvington on Monday morning. There was a resident reported smoke, and it was discovered there was a fire in the walls. This was in 3-degree weather with the driveway covered with ice. The extreme temperatures added complexity to a difficult task. However, with the assistance from neighbors, the fire was extinguished and everyone was safe. The village court, from 12/1 to 1/25, 182 charges received and charges disposed with, as usual, the vast majority being in vehicle and traffic. Fines remitted to the state controller, $17,925, surcharges $9,851, civil fees $995, for a total of $28,771.50.
Village Administrator's report.
So just one question for you all. I received a communication from Tom Avenanti's office about the hotel tax. That's the legislation that was enacted in 2016, and is set to expire automatically September 1st, 2019. So he's asking for a home rule request to introduce legislation to have that extend until 2022. He's already introduced it on the Assembly side. We believe that Andrew Stewart Cousins will be introducing it on the Senate side, but I don't have a bill number yet. I'm assuming you're supportive of that, and if you are, I'll bring it forward at the next meeting to have a formal resolution for it, and then we'll put that in.
Yeah, I certainly am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we still don't have a hotel.
We don't have anything here, but,
Support our neighbors.
yeah.
Right. Our neighbors do, and we might someday, who knows?
Yep. Thank you.
Bills, attorneys report. Public comment. Review of action items.
The one main one that came out of the discussion was to publicize the now somewhat finalized parking scheme, so that'll be through email and
I don't know if I like the term scheme.
I wouldn't call it a scheme.
Yeah, don't call it plan. Plan.
Solution.
Comprehensive.
Is it
Responsive.
Is there
Council
a
solution.
6 and 2 hour spaces.
And,
compromise?
yes,
And
and
count as 6
and the
and 2
inventory,
hours.
yes.
Is there a way to
On the
take these
map.
beautiful,
Yep.
to link your beautiful
Yes,
visualizations to the
that would be
email?
part of the communication, right?
Good.
There's one copy in North Buckout as well.
Anyway.
And where are you putting your reserve for the mayor?
County says it has to be on Riverview Road in front of my house,
At this driveway.
in my driveway. I make a motion to adjourn, if I can have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.